Hello friends, let's factor 3x squared minus 7x minus 6. If you have an expression like this, the way you factor it is you multiply the coefficients of the x squared term, that is the number in the front of x squared, which is 3, and the constant term, which is negative 6, that is the term in the expression without an x, basically. So you multiply these two numbers together, that is 3 times negative 6, and this gives what? Negative 18. Next, the next thing we want to do is that we want to look for two numbers that multiplies to give negative 18, but they add to give negative 7. That is, negative 7 is the coefficient of the middle term, that is the number in the front of the x. So I'm going to recap again. So you look for two numbers that multiply to give negative 18, but when you add them, they give you negative 7. So what are those two numbers? That when you multiply them, they give you negative 18, but when you add them, they give you negative 7. So let's put aside the negative. What are the two numbers that when you multiply them, they give you 18? What are two numbers? Clearly 9 and 2, right? So 9 and 2. So that means we have to put a negative either in 9 or in 2 to get a negative 18, right? And we can put it anywhere. Just if you just want to get negative 18, you can just put a negative anywhere, either 9 or 2, you get negative 18. But now that's not the only condition that will be satisfied. We also want these two numbers, 9 and 2, to add, right, to give us a negative 7. So how can we put the negative sign here? We have to put the negative sign at the front of 9, because so negative 9 to negative 9 is going to give us negative 7. And also 2 times negative 9 is going to give us negative 18. So the two numbers that such that when you multiply them, they give you negative 18, and when you add them, they give you negative 7 is 2 and negative 9. So what I can do here is I can rewrite my expression. I can rewrite this expression as 3x squared minus 9x plus 2x minus 6. So I can rewrite this expression as this. Now, you must be able to go back and forth. If you observe that the middle term, this middle term here, this middle term, if you add them together, they give you back the middle term here, which is negative 7x, right? So basically the two expressions are the same, but I just, rewrote them in a different way to just, because I want to factor. So I believe it's clear up to this point. So now, the next thing I want to do is I want to group, right? That's the next thing I want to do. I want to group. So I'm going to group this way. 3x squared minus 9x, put that in parentheses, plus 2x minus 16, put that in parentheses. Then I will factor. So what is common between 3x squared and minus 9x? 3 is common and x is common. So I'll be left with what? I'll be left with x here minus 3, right? And you can always check. If I multiply 3x times x, I will get 3x squared. And if I multiply 3x times minus 3, I'll get minus 9x. Plus, what is common between 2 and 2x and negative 6. 2 is common, so I can pull out a 2, and then I'll be left with x minus 3. Okay, now if you look at this term here, and this term here, what is common between those two terms? X minus 3 is common, so I can pull out an x minus 3. It's common. Then I will be left with what? I'll be left with, in the first term, this one here, I'll be left with what? 3x. And then in the second term here, I'll be left with what? With 2. And that's the factoring. That's the factoring of that expression. Yeah. So I'm just quickly going to go over it again. So if you want to factor an expression like this, an expression like this, you look at the coefficient of the x squared term, which is 3 in this case, and the constant term, which is negative 6. You multiply those together. In this case, we got negative 18. Then you find two numbers such that when you multiply them, they give you negative 18. But when you add them, they give you the coefficient of the middle term. In this case, the coefficient of the middle term, that is the number in front of the x, is negative 7. So we found out that negative 9 and 2 are those two numbers. So we just, instead of writing negative 7x, we wrote, we wrote negative 9x plus 2x, because it's still the same as negative 7x. And we grouped and factored, and we got our solution. I hope this helps. Thank you.